Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. Today it's going to be Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. This is a game I did a Let's Play on probably back in, I think, 2013, so it's been several years since I last covered this game. And, you know, this isn't my favorite Castlevania game in the series, but I do enjoy the game, and since I last did my Let's Play of this, I've actually learned some new tricks and whatnot. Also, in my previous Let's Play, we didn't get the best ending, as far as I'm aware. I think we actually took the alternate route, and so yeah, what we're gonna do, the aim of this playthrough is to get the best ending in the game, and I'll show you the alternate routes. I'll show you some new strategies I found with certain items and certain bosses and whatnot. And yeah, so cross your fingers for me. This is actually kind of a difficult run. If you mess up, you have to do the whole run over if you want to get the best ending. So you basically have to do it perfectly if you're going to get the alternate ending. There are a couple of alternate endings in this game, and honestly the endings aren't really that much different from one another. It's just like different background pictures and whatnot. But, you know, there are alternate routes to go through in this game. Depending on how well you do at very specific parts of the game. And I'll sort of explain that as we go through the game. For those of you guys that are unfamiliar with this, this is loosely based on Rondo of Blood, Dracula X Rondo of Blood, which is a PC Engine duo game from 1993. This has a lot of similarities to it, but it's mostly different from Rondo. So a lot of folks actually confuse this for Rondo of Blood. It's definitely not Rondo of Blood. You do still play as Richter Belmont. There's a lot of the same music, couple of the same bosses, but most of the rest of the game is completely different. So yeah, Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. So before we jump into the game, as always, I'd like to give a big shout out to my current Patreon backers. So they're going to go ahead and flash by the screen. Thank you guys for your continued support. Likewise, we're going to thank the recent live stream super chatters and the current channel members. So thank you guys for your direct patronage to this channel as well. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into stage 1 here. And pretty basic stuff here in Castlevania Dracula X. You walk, you attack, you jump. You can actually land on the staircases, kind of like that. Very handy ability that you'll see me do somewhat frequently over the course of the playthrough. Interesting ability is you can hold down the attack button and then walk backwards. You can moonwalk in this game, which is actually kind of neat. It's actually something back in my 2013 Let's Play I don't think I even knew about. But I mean, it just goes to show that, you know, it's something that's in the game, but it's not really necessary to do, and you're probably not going to see me doing it very often in this game. Also, interesting thing here is you can't kill these bats until you trigger them. They come off their perch. So just firing an axe up there like that won't actually do anything to them until they're actually in flight. Always kind of bugged me because there's a similar similar mechanics in Castlevania 3 and the NES where you've got bats perched up like that, but you can attack them before they actually come off their perch like that and start flying at you. You've also got a double jump in this game, or not really a double jump, but a backflip. You can do that by pressing jump rapidly twice back to back, so you'll press jump and then press jump again very quickly. Now you can actually delay that a little bit to get a little bit of extra height and whatnot, but that's also something I'm not going to be using a whole lot in this playthrough. Actually, personally speaking, I do typically use it to skip through sections a little bit faster, but we're not going to really be worrying about that today. What I'm going to be worrying about today is survival. I really want to get this alternate ending. If I don't, I have to redo this whole Let's Play, because part of the purpose of this Let's Play is to get that alternate ending. One other thing that's going to be really important in this game, for me personally, this run specifically, is keeping as many hearts as I can. Unlike a lot of Castlevania games, when you beat a level in this game, you actually keep whatever hearts you have, and I actually wanted that axe, but that's okay. We're going to get another axe in just a few moments, but if you whip a candle, and a candle that normally has a sub-weapon that you already have will end up dropping a big heart, which gives you 5 hearts. Hearts are your ammunition. If you're new to Castlevania, hearts are ammunition, and to use your sub-weapons, you press up and attack, just like so, and you notice that it loses a heart. It uses a heart, and you lose a heart. Another interesting mechanic in this game is if you delay pressing forward when you jump, you can actually sort of do sort of like a baby jump like this. Unfortunately, you can also turn mid-air, which can be handy sometimes, but it can also get you killed at certain situations. And there's some wall meat. There is a lot of wall meat in this game, although a lot of the wall meat's actually just hidden in candles themselves, so a lot of it isn't actually hidden. And this is our first boss here. And what this guy does is he has a tendency of shooting this fireball on the ground and then dashing over just like that. And so the axe is actually my favorite weapon for this fight. And we're actually doing a pretty bad job at this fight so far. And we just basically jump over it like that. And that's it. There's actually going to be a big heart right here as well. There we go. And then we grab this orb at the end, and then that's pretty much it. On to stage 2. Now what's kind of cool is that if you complete the boss fights with full health, you'll actually get a free extra life. Now what's funny is that it actually says it's a no damage bonus, but that's actually false. You can take damage, you just have to have a full health bar. Now there are a couple fights in the game that actually give you health. So one of the alternate routes we're going to take in order to get the best ending is going to have a pork chop in the boss fight itself. So if I take a hit from the boss, after I kill the boss, I can grab the pork chop, refill my health, and it'll still give me the extra life. For this part right here, generally what I like to do is get the cross. I wanted to just keep walking straight forward. I really don't want to be jumping too much because these mermen are constantly jumping up. And you really have to focus on these guys and take them out as quickly as possible, otherwise you end up falling to your death. So there are a couple of points in the game like that that require like a very specific tactic to get through consistently. And one other thing to note in this game is that there are basically no invincibility frames when you get hit. And so that's one of the toughest parts about Dracula X on the Super Nintendo. And it was the same thing with Rondo of Blood actually on the PC Engine Duo. Which we're actually going to be most likely doing a updated Let's Play of this month as well. Spoiler. You also have item crashes in this game. You can press the X button, it'll use up a lot of hearts, but you can actually do a full screen attack with pretty much, well, not really full screen with any sub-weapon, but a lot of sub-weapons like the cross, the holy water, and the axe will do full screen attacks. The cross and the holy water are the best for the full screen attacks, and there's going to be a boss later on in the game where I really want to just focus on having the cross when I get to him. And what these guys have a tendency of doing is basically just, you know, they sort of like fling their spears around like that, and when they fling them around, if you shoot, you know, a projectile at them, they'll actually reject the projectile. And, well, reject it, but they'll more specifically, they'll reflect it, and your projectile won't actually do any damage. And one way you can get away from their big swipe here is by doing a backflip, or you can hold down attack and just moonwalk backwards. But yeah, the item crashes are very important, and that's one big reason why I want to keep as many hearts as I can through this playthrough. If I can kill enemies without using projectiles safely, you'll see me not use projectiles for most of this playthrough. You can actually whip those candles as well. But guys like this, you know, these guys are kind of a pain, so I'll go ahead and use my, my axe on them. There's some wall meat right there. Now, interestingly, for people that don't know, and I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate it right now, even though I have full health, wall meat always reappears in this game, which is interesting. It doesn't do that in a lot of other Castlevania games. So, what we're going to do is just kill these guys again, and it doesn't really matter if I take a hit. And bam, there it is again. So, if you're really, really low in health when you get to sections like this, you know, just go back down the stairs, come back up, and your wall meat will reappear. And that goes for wall meat and candles as well. It's very, very handy to know. Alright, so this bat boss right here, what he does is when you attack him, he basically splits apart. He could still be damaged when he's, you know, in his many different bats form. just like this. It can be a little tricky to deal with. It's very erratic in its pattern. There's really no rhythm or rhyme to it as far as I'm aware. If there is, please post a comment below and let me know. Some of these games do have rhythm and rhyme. There is a technique to the madness, but it's not always obvious. And that's it. So what he's going to do, he's going to form back together as one big bat, and then he's going to explode. If you sit on this platform over here, you can just sit here, and you don't have to worry about taking a hit from that. Otherwise, you'd have to jump over it if you don't want to take damage. It's not a lot of damage, but it is some, you know, a tiny, you know, probably pixels worth of damage. And on to stage 3. So this is probably the most important stage in the game if you want to get the best ending. You have to go a very specific route on this map or this level if you want to get the best ending. Here's an example of double jumping, getting you up a little bit quicker. And there's a big heart right here. So there are a lot of platforms on this level that allow you to double jump to, or backflip to. I guess we're not really double jumping, but we are backflipping. And you know, in my previous playthroughs of this, I always took the left-hand route, but I actually found that the right-hand route here is better for me, especially if I have the axe. Because what I can do is I can kill these bone pillars from down below, and the axe does a lot of damage. You've also got quite a few big hearts there. And so let's go ahead and just come up here like this, and we're going to go ahead and axe this bone pillar right here. Watch out for the Medusa heads. A lot of Medusa heads from here on out in this playthrough. I mean, there have been, you know, a couple up to this point, but not a ton. And there's the lack of invincibility frames in play. We basically just took 2 hits for that one. Also, those platforms there, if you jump on them and land on them, they will actually spin around. And for this guy right here, we're just going to duck and attack him in the face, just like that. Also, interesting thing here is if you jump off the screen, it's like you'll touch a block up in the air, an invisible block that's not actually there. And that can actually affect our next jump in the next section. And unfortunately, I've got the axe. Let's go ahead and switch over to the holy water for a minute, just to use the item crash on this guy. And we'll use the item crash again. And you are not doing much damage, Richter. For as many axes as there were, I expected more damage. So here's a wall meat right here, and it's full health, but just to demonstrate it again, if you just walk right back up the stairs, unfortunately you've got to deal with this guy again, but it's not really that dangerous, to be honest with you. You know, you could take a hit, you can tank, and then you can grab the wall meat. And what I'd like to do is just fall right down here and then jump immediately. I need to grab that potion, which makes us invincible for a couple of seconds. When you're invincible like that, you actually take no damage, and you destroy enemies in one hit. And a tactic right here is to just duck and tank. When you're ducking in this game and you take a hit, there is no knockback. So one of the most dangerous things in this game is knockback. But if you duck and take a hit, you don't get knocked back. But that thing I mentioned here earlier about getting stuck on an invisible block, that happens on this jump right here. It's kind of a really poor design choice. And that jump has actually killed me before, because I didn't know about that. I would jump early, hit this invisible block, and then I would fall down the pit to my death. So also, Dracula X has a bunch of shortcuts like this. If I wanted to, I could just walk to the left, and that's it. You know, skip pretty much the whole section. The game has quite a few sections like that over the course of the game. Kind of lazy design, if you ask me. It's always been one of my pet peeves about this game. A lot of the level design itself is kind of monotonous. It's walk right, go upstairs, walk back left on the same screen, or repeat, or not repeat, but, you know, mirror that another way. Walk left, walk upstairs, walk right, and that's Dracula X on Super Nintendo in a nutshell. But some parts are even easier than that, because you can just skip the sections completely, and I'll sort of explain a couple of other sections in the game where that can be done. But really, I wanted to go all the way over to the right to get an extra life. I don't really need the extra life. But this is the alternate, not the alternate, but this is the section I was talking about, where you have to go a very specific route. And our goal here is to not fall into the pit. If we fall into the pit, we end up being forced to another route. And it's another route where we cannot get the best ending. And what I'll do here is just use the item crash just to kill that skeleton. Yeah, so my goal here is just to not fall down. Sometimes easier said than done, but if you think you're going to get hit, just duck. And these bone pillars here, what I want to do is actually just snipe them from a distance. You can actually snipe these guys just off screen. There we go. You can actually hear them getting hit, and you can hear them getting destroyed. And that should be it. Nope, there's one more. There we go, he's gone. Let's wait for these Medusa heads. So the best strategy here is just wait for a Medusa head, attack said Medusa head, then jump. Just do it one by one, kind of like that. You can do it a little bit faster if you time it right, but, you know, I've gotten knocked into those pits so many times over the course of my life, it's just not worth, you know, trying to speed through this. I'm not speed running the game or anything like that. And honestly, speedrunners probably wouldn't even go this alternate route. But this is the important part right here, is we have this key. You can actually hurt enemies with this key, and you've got an infinite item crash as well, as long as you have enough hearts to use the item crash. That will do damage to enemies as well, and we're going to be using that a lot on the next level. So this boss right here, hopefully he's going to jump over us. He usually jumps over us right away. And if he does that, you can just duck like so. And then turn around and attack him some more. He's actually a really easy boss. When he sticks his sword into the ground, he does these ice blocks like so. And he's gonna jump again, just like that. You gotta watch out when he turns around though, his lance will poke you. So you gotta watch out for his lance. And then he'll also throw his head up into the air. And if you get touched by his head that's in the air, you'll actually end up slowing down. But here's the meat I was talking about. This is one of those fights where there's meat in the fight. So if I took a hit, I could have grabbed that meat, and then it still would have credited me with a no-hit fight. Even though I did take a hit, well, technically in that fight I didn't take a hit, but it still would have credited me with a no-damage bonus, even though I took damage. But how it calculates it is how full your health is, which is kind of funny. You do get points in this game. Your points aren't displayed. They'll show up if you press the start button, and by pressing the start button you can also see how many lives you have. But you do get extra lives from points in this game, which is interesting, because there are a couple of other Castlevania games where you don't actually get lives from points. So this is a very, very dangerous level. This is probably the most dangerous level in the game, because you just have a key, and that's it. So what we need to do is really take advantage of this item crash and to not take any damage. Or very, very little damage. So what I'm going to be doing is using my item crash on these enemies that are above me. And I really need to be focusing on taking out these bats. So I'm going to take my time here. The bats are really troublesome to deal with, because again, no invincibility frames. And these are really slow bats. These aren't like the Medusa heads or some of the, you know... They aren't like the Medusa heads, where they just really fly across the screen pretty quickly. So we're just going to be focusing on these bats. Kill the bat. Kill the bat. Just rinse and repeat. Kill the bats. And it looks like you could actually only kill one enemy at a time when you're in your item crash mode here. Let's go ahead and try to kill this guy. Oh, come on, he missed. What I should have done is actually killed him when he was kind of... Oh, okay, well that works too, actually. He jumped right in front of me, and that's okay. Alright, so let's just take our time here. The next screen in particular is one of the harder screens, because again, you don't have any real special sub-weapons. You're stuck with this key, and the key is not the most handy object available in the game, but it's required in order to get the best ending in the game. Let's go ahead and hit that candle, grab that big heart. So what I'm going to be doing here is actually really just taking advantage of this item crash over and over. I want to just sort of hit this guy from this elevator here, like so. These guys, these axe armor knights, these red ones, are very, very difficult to deal with. They always lunge at you. And I'm basically just using my item crash to hurt that bat, just like so. And we're gonna continue to use our item crash on this section. Just wait for the bats. I'm not going to worry about that money bag. Don't really care about it. We're just going to fall like this. And there's actually some wall meats right here. There's a pork chop. So we can grab it and then item crash through that thing to not take any hits. These things do a lot of damage to you if you get hit by them. And that was actually a really good screen. We came out of it with full health. And now the goal here is to not fall to our death. Which, you know, in Dracula X on Super Nintendo is sometimes easier said than done. So we need our key for this part. And we're going to jump over here like this, jump over here like that, press up and attack to use our key. And there we go. And this is Maria, who you also find in Dracula X Rondo of Blood on the PC Engine. But on the PC Engine version, you find her very early in the game, and she becomes a playable character. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen in this game. Maria is a really, really fun character to play as in Dracula X on Rondo, and actually just talking about her like that kind of reminded me that I need to do a updated Let's Play with just Maria on Dracula X Rondo of Blood, and that was bad. Okay, I need to make sure that I don't do that again. These guys are really aggravating me now. As you can see, they really gang up on you, and it's very easy to get hit by them. But that's okay, we're fine. So we're getting close to another alternate route. And we want to skip that dagger. We still have to keep the key. You have to use the key twice. And then you're in the clear. Then you can just grab whatever you want. No more keys after that, thankfully. So this is probably the most frustrating level in the game because of the fact that you have to do this with this key. And the key is not great. It's definitely not great. And then things like this, you take a hit, no invincibility frames, just very difficult to deal with. Something I also noticed is those red bone skeletons. Those red skeletons, you actually do get points for them. There are some Castlevania games where you get points for them. There are other Castlevania games where you don't get points for them. So if you're playing for score, you can find one of those guys and just grind out on them over and over again. Because there's no time limit in this game. That is one thing that's also different from other Castlevania games, is there is no time limit in this. So what we need to do is go to this door on the top right. Now, if I died, I would have lost my key and I would have had to go left, which makes me fight another boss fight that we won't find on a different route. But to get the best ending, you have to come up here, open up this door, and then that takes you to another alternate stage that you won't find otherwise without that key. This is actually a pretty cool level. It's not super long, like a lot of stages in this game, but it is nice, and it's got one of my favorite tunes from Rondo of Blood. It's just a very chill tune. Very, very relaxed. It's also got an animated background, which is nice. One of my complaints with Dracula X on Super Nintendo is a lot of its backgrounds are quite flat. It's got some really nice backgrounds at points, but it also has backgrounds that aren't really nice at points. Remember, this game came out in 1995. This is after stuff like Super Metroid, Donkey Kong Country, even Castlevania 4, which had a lot of detail in its backgrounds, and that's just always been one of my pet peeves with this game. And I don't want to get off on a negative note here. I do like Dracula X on Super Nintendo. It's just for various reasons it's not my favorite, and one of those reasons is just like the backgrounds aren't super complex like they are in other, even older Castlevania games. Even Castlevania 3 had more intricate backgrounds, and that was 6 years older than this, actually 5 technically. So what we need to do is not die here. There actually is an endless pit right down here. There's also a moving platform. Also, the mermen have a tendency of jumping up, just like that. So as you're falling down here, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna hit you. So let's just try to fall straight down like this. Ooh, that was close. Almost got hit by that. And I'm just gonna keep ducking like this, just to tank, just in case I take a hit. This is also gonna, oops, wrong item. Thinking about the one on the right here. You can also, if you time it right, you can item crash your way up above that spike platform. But I really want to save my cross for this boss fight, because we're going to be item crashing our way through this boss. And this part is pretty difficult as well, so what I really want to do is try to item crash here too. And we're going to try to do a jump like this. And let's do it again. And let's item crash, like so. And you can also grab this potion here and kill these bone dragons in one hit. Bam, just like that. The bone dragons also have a tendency of dropping a lot of hearts, but I'm just going to item crash and kill this guy like that. So good stuff. Pretty good run so far. I'm actually pretty happy about this. But this is where kind of knowing the game really helps a lot, and not dying helps a lot, because I have a lot more ammunition to work with. So what we need to do is actually attack this a couple times, and then that basically lowers this water, and then we'll find Annette, who's the other hidden character that you have to find to get us the best ending. And then from here on out, it's just a straight shot to Dracula. If this was Rondo of Blood, you would actually find her in Dracula's castle. So she's one of the last characters and secrets that you find in that version of the game. And then we just come back up here, go up this staircase, and walk over to the right. And what I need to do is just not die here. There are a couple tricky parts in this section if you're not careful. So these water ghost things are constantly spawning. You've also got some mermen that pop up. And I either need the holy water in this part or the cross, but the cross will do. And I want to attack that bird, basically snipe that bird. There's also some wall meat right there, which I don't actually need. Interestingly, there's a candle right here which drops a money bag, but it's very, very difficult to actually get. I don't think I've ever actually gotten that money. And one other feature I haven't really explained in this game, and this is a really nice feature that I wish more Castlevanias sort of took, and that is when you grab a sub-weapon that's different from yours, the previous sub-weapon will actually drop on the ground in case you didn't want to actually pick up that weapon that you grabbed. So that's a really nice gameplay mechanic that was carried over from Rondo. So for this boss right here, we're just going to item crash and just sort of annihilate him like this. Otherwise, this guy is a major pain to deal with. He is a major pain. He's actually the first alternate boss in Rondo of Blood, but he's actually a good bit more challenging in this version of the game. It's very difficult to hit him without taking damage with just your whip. And I just took damage. I always forget about that, but he actually has a desperation attack. A couple bosses in the game have desperation attacks, just like the bat boss on stage 2. When you kill the bat boss, he explodes, and his little bats can actually hurt you, which will... you'll not get the extra life from the no damage bonus if you get hurt by those things. So I got hurt by that, so I didn't get the extra life, no damage bonus. And so this is pretty much it. We have 2 more stages. We're on stage 6, and then after that it's pretty much Dracula's castle, which Dracula's castle is a really, really short stage. And my goal there, just like with this stage, is to try to get to the boss with as many hearts as possible. And, you know, outside of the alternate stage and having to play with the key, this is probably the actual hardest stage in the game. Oops, took a hit. Not a good start. Really don't want to be taking hits if I can avoid it. But fortunately, we do have wall meat here a couple times in this this level. So, and there was a bird up there. I don't know where he went. But there's going to be a big heart right here. And I definitely want as much ammunition as I can. That way, I'm free to item crash as much as I need to. What's nice about attacking these bone pillars in this game is that you can just stand in place and you'll actually hit, say if there are 2 bone pillars stacked on top of each other, as they typically are, you'll actually hit both. You don't have to duck and attack one, or if you stand and attack, you won't just attack the top one like you will in some other Castlevania games. And if you time your regular whip attack as well, you'll notice that you can attack once going up and then once on the way down. And in the top left, you can probably barely see it, but there's actually a stopwatch up there. Stopwatch is my least favorite sub-weapon in this game. And this is also one of those sections I was talking about where you can just skip the section completely. So just kind of lazy design here. But what we're going to do is... we're going to go all the way over. You know, I usually skip the section, but I'll just show you. I'll humor you, basically. There is actually some wall meat over here. And not over there, because I wasn't paying attention, and I died. So, but I'm going to humor you again. And better to die early in this level, and, you know, so I can still regain my hearts. But, I mean, this really isn't a difficult section at all. You just need to watch out for these bats. These bats are really annoying if you're not paying attention. If you are paying attention, they're actually quite fine. They're not really that troublesome to deal with. So So just jump straight up, just like that, and just rinse and repeat. It's pretty simple stuff. And this guy right here, he can't actually really reach past that block, so we don't really have to worry about that. And just like so. So yeah, generally speaking, when I play this, I always just skip this section completely. I mean, it's right there for the taking, so I just skip it. Unfortunately, I lost my cross, which is problematic, which is going to make, you know, this section a little bit harder than it really needs to be. But that's okay. Not a big... Oh, hey, look, a cross. Good. Alright, so these clock gears, they, you know... There is a, you know, a unique set of physics to them, which is cool. Sort of a common trait in a lot of classic Castlevania games. It's something I've always enjoyed. I've always enjoyed the clock tower levels for the different physics. And, oops. I didn't hold over right long enough. If you don't hold over right long enough, you'll actually mess up your jump mid-air. And we're going to jump on this platform here, try to avoid these bats. That's a big heart. And this next section right here is one of the tougher ones in the game. So we're going to try to take our time here. Attack these ghosts. But again, you've got these, you know, these gear physics to worry about. And there's going to be another one over here, so I'm going to try to do an early jump. Just wait for him to come back, like so. And then I'm going to do a small jump like that. It's actually pretty tough, to be honest with you. And there's going to be another axe armor guy right here. I'm just going to backflip over him and say, see ya. We're not going to fight him. Now, if you're trying to just, you know, play for skill, you know, play for the thrill, and, or maybe play for points, then yeah, you want to probably attack the guy. But, you know, there's nothing requiring us to do that. So, and we're going to actually go ahead and just stick it out with the cross here. And there's actually going to be some wall meat up here, but it's going to be, again, in a candle. And I'm having a hard time with this this gear section here. This part always gives me a little bit of trouble. It is a little janky compared to the rest of the game. Let's go ahead and just fall here like that. And the thing is, I also died, so I really want to get as many hearts as I can as well. Alright, that's fine. And we took a hit, and this actually leads us to death. And we've got, you know, 45 hearts-ish. We'll have a little bit more. There's also an extra life right here as well. There we go. There's the knife. I actually prefer the knife for this boss. Actually, you know what? Oh, I was going to say, I should probably try the cross, to be honest with you. Extra lives in this game only appear once per continue. So if I died and had to restart this fight over, that 1-up would not be there anymore. When you game over in this game, you do actually have to do the whole stage over, so that's actually really frustrating on this level. If you die to death, you've got to do the whole thing over again. If you don't rescue the two females and take the alternate routes, there will actually be a different boss fight here, which is actually kind of cool. So, you know, Dracula X on Super Nintendo does have some baked-in replay value, which is nice. If you want to see some different content and whatnot, it is there. It's just a little difficult to achieve for some players. Alright, so this is Death's second form. This is pretty tough, and what I want to do here is just focus on using my item crash. He's going to attack like that. When he does a dive bomb, I want to use my item crash just like so. And we're going to go ahead and just use the item crash again, and again, just like that. When you use your item crash, you're pretty much invincible. And the thing where he dive bombs me and spins around like crazy, in the Dracula X on Dracula X on Rondo Blood, the Dracula X on PC Engine, he kind of goes up and then just usually goes down at about a 45-degree angle, and it's very consistent. In this game, he'll go all the way across the screen. You'll be at the far edge, and he'll go all the way across the screen, and there's no avoiding it. So I found the easiest way to deal with him is just to have a lot of hearts, and then just item crash when he does that attack. And, you know, I can tank a couple hits, and then we're fine after that. So So this is Dracula's castle. This is actually the final stage in the game. And so what we're going to be doing here is just trying to focus on getting as many hearts as possible. And there actually are a couple of ways to grind out hearts in this level, which is quite nice. This level actually isn't very complex or long. So what I'm going to do is just attack these bone pillars. Just stand up like that, and you'll attack 2 at once, just like so. And there's going to be another set of bone pillars right here. And it just takes 3 hits to kill the bone pillars if you're attacking them with your whip. Also, neat little trick here is you can actually attack them from down below. Notice that my whip that's behind me, like as I wind up to whip, that actually hurts enemies. So very good to know. That actually happens in certain Castlevania games. So the first part of grinding is actually going to happen right here. I'm just going to attack this bone dragon over and over because he drops like, you know, 6 or 7 hearts each time. And it's really easy to do. So I just go back up the stairs, I jump backwards like so to avoid him. Get 2 hits off of him each time. So 1, 2, and then he's gonna sort of dive bomb me like that. That's actually not a terribly threatening attack in this game. They actually dive at you very slow in this. And Rondo of Blood, they're much more aggressive and whatnot. There we go. Just gonna keep grinding out like this. Now, the reason I want to do this is because Dracula is so much easier if you have, if you can throw your sub-weapon multiple times. So that's actually another mechanic I haven't really explained. So, you know, in previous Castlevania games, in order to throw more than one sub-weapon on the screen at once, or you know, back to back. So let me go back a step. What you'd have to do in classic Castlevania is throw a sub-weapon, and you'd have to wait until it's off the screen for you to be able to throw another one. Well, you had these things called Roman numeral tablets that you could pick up. And if you had those, starting with a number 2 and then a number 3, you would be able to throw your sub-weapons back to back, up to 2 or 3 times, depending. Well, this game actually has that. You just don't pick up a physical object to get that ability. It's actually based on how many hearts you have. So I want to say if it's like over 20 hearts, you can throw 2 items at a time. If it's over 30 hearts, you can throw 3 items at a time. So right now, well, it's going to be hard to demonstrate with the dagger, but if I had the axe or the cross, I could throw up to 3 at a time right now. And it's really important to be able to do that on Dracula for his second form in particular, but also to, you know, to just tear through his first form a lot faster. And we're gonna go ahead and do this one more time at least, because there are gonna be other hearts I'm gonna get too, but I just want to make sure I've got enough leading up to him. And actually, what's nice is by maxing out the hearts like this, it'll actually make the next section easier because I can use my item crash more often. Just like so. Yeah, because the next section can actually be kind of troublesome as well. But there are a couple of other things I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you the route here, so we're going to actually sort of take our time on this final stage in the game. Notice up top there's a candle. That's actually wall meat, and you can actually loop yourself back around to get that. So if you don't want to go into Dracula without full health, which I highly recommend going into Dracula with full health, you can actually loop back around. And to loop back around, you come here like this. You go through this doorway. Hey, look at that! I know you. And actually grabbing this cross is pretty handy as well, because it'll help me. I can item crash in the next section, grab that health. So now I'm at full health. I have a better weapon, a better sub-weapon for this next section. And I don't need that heart over there. But all the items here respawn except for the hidden extra life. And the hidden extra life is going to be up here shortly. We're just going to jump up like this, and then item crash. Unfortunately, we missed the wall meat, but we didn't really need the wall meat. But here's our extra life. Just like so. And that's it. You know, pretty solid. Pretty happy with that. Another trick right here is you want to grab this potion and then run over here as quickly as possible, as quickly as the game lets you. Run into that axe armor, and then you'll just kill him in one hit. Otherwise, that part's just really tricky to deal with. So we want the axe right here, and look at that, we're maxed out on hearts. So even though we used a couple of item crashes, we're maxed out on hearts, and this is going to help us a lot on this boss fight. And so Dracula has 2 health bars. His first health bar, I really want to sort of finish off when he's towards the middle of the screen if I can. And this is the most problematic boss fight in the whole game. And in, you know, it's actually one of the most problematic boss fights in the entire Castlevania series. So, by being able to throw 3 axes at once, I can actually hit him up to 3 times, which is quite nice. And when he sits on this platform, you can actually hit him from down below. And where he goes seems to be completely random. And a big thing that you really want to focus on in this fight is if you think you're going to take a hit, duck. Duck and take the hit. Just tank, just deal with the hit, lose the health. There's actually a candle with some meat in it on the other side of the screen. So if you don't think you can jump over something in safety, just duck. Because again, if you duck and take a hit, you don't get knocked back. That's extremely, extremely important on this boss fight. I can't stress how important that is. And let's see if we can get him towards the middle of the screen. See, I took a hit, so I just tanked. I ducked. The reason I want him on the middle of the screen is so I can sort of sit over here. That was close. I kind of want him over there. I don't want him over there, unfortunately. So let's just jump, just like so. Just take our time. This is good, actually. And there we go. And so what we're going to do is just axe over and over. He's got this fireball attack that's easily destructible if you can throw multiple axes at once. Bam! Just like that. And that is how you destroy Dracula in Dracula X for Super Nintendo. Now, I'm not going to worry about grabbing that meat. I've actually killed myself after destroying Dracula by accidentally pressing back or something and doing a baby jump and just baby jumping my way into a pit. And that was actually a really, really solid run. That actually would have been a no-death clear had I not been dumb and, you know, fell into that pit just to demonstrate the other side of that screen. So, but yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. So here's the alternate ending. Like I said, it's just a different backdrop. That's pretty much it. You get a credits roll, and yeah, that's it. So, but yeah, that's Castlevania Dracula X for the Super Nintendo. I hope you guys learn some new tricks in the game if you're already familiar with the game, and if you're not familiar with the game, you got to see your way through it, and you got to see the best ending. So, it's a solid Castlevania game. Like I said, it's not my favorite in the series, but I do still enjoy it, and it was somewhat enjoyable relearning this game for this Let's Play. I say somewhat enjoyable because it was frustrating. I had to do a lot of resets, because I would get to stage 3, no, sorry, I'd get to the stage 4 alternate with the key, and then I'd die, and I'd lose the key, and I'd have to reset and start it all over again. I had to do that like 6 or 7 times. It was crazy. But what really helped me was learning the item crash. I actually, you know, GameFAQs actually tells you about that, but I didn't bother looking on GameFAQs until I already figured it out myself. So, basically, I just pressed the item crash at the right time, and it killed an enemy. I was like, uh-oh, I'm onto something here. And so that definitely made the run a lot more consistent. So if you're looking to try to get the best ending on this game, then you definitely want to do the same thing as well. Make sure you're focusing on using your item crash with the key on that alternate stage. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult to get through. Also, just make sure you're grinding for hearts. Make sure you're saving your hearts. Don't be using your sub-weapons if you don't have to. And just item crash when things get a little crazy on screen. When you've got multiple enemies that take a lot of hits, that are pretty dangerous, just item crash. Use up those hearts. That's what they're there for. So, You know, unless you're trying to do like a total like no sub-weapon run, which is entirely possible in this game. I mean, you don't have whip upgrades in this like you do in other Castlevania games, so, you know, like a no sub-weapon run is a lot easier in this than it is, I think, in other Castlevanias. But, you know, unless you're doing that, you've got tons of hearts. Just use your item crash. It's worth it, trust me, especially with the cross. And I suggest the cross as the item crash because at least the cross is still pretty useful on its own. The holy water's got a great item crash where it's like acid rain across the screen, but the holy water by itself isn't all that useful, to be honest with you. It's not very good against airborne enemies. It doesn't go upwards, it doesn't go straight. The cross and the axe are by far the best weapons in the game for that. The dagger is actually a really solid weapon in this game. It just flies across the screen really, really quickly. And its item crash is pretty solid as well. But it doesn't clear the whole screen with its item crash. So you're really better off just using the axe or the cross. Those are by far the best weapons in the game. And the axe in particular is also really powerful. So that's definitely my favorite weapon to use in this game. Usually the cross is my favorite in the Castlevania games, but the axe is just really, really good in this game. So I highly recommend sticking with that for part of the playthrough and then switching to the cross for other parts of the playthrough. So that's pretty much it, guys. Again, it's actually October right now as I'm recording this, so you guys will see some other horror-themed Let's Plays, mostly in the Castlevania vein for the rest of this month. Also, stay tuned for lots of live streams. Horror-themed live streams, Castlevania and not. If you're new to my channel, consider subscribing if you made it to this point. I've got a ton of Let's Plays on this channel. I also have a Castlevania Let's Plays playlist with probably like 40-something videos on it now, including old recordings of Dracula X, if you want to see that. Also, you know, for everyone else already subbed, thanks for the continued support. And I was going to say something else, but I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it up here. So thanks for watching, guys. Until the next one, take it easy.